Hello, Ian here. Welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. I hope you're enjoying the Death May Die series that we're doing at the moment. I'm really smashing through Season 1, enjoying painting the miniatures because they're so lovely to paint. Nice, clear definition. Today is the turn of the Fire Vampire. We'll be doing that in a moment. I hope you are enjoying the videos. If you do, if you really enjoy them, please do smash on that like and subscribe. Just give me a bit of encouragement to get on with getting some more videos out for you. So without further ado, to the table! So here we are with the Fire Vampire. I've base coated it in black and then left it for greater than 12 hours just to make sure that that base coat is well hardened off and that it isn't going to leach into the colours and desaturate them. Although, saying that, we are going to go for a slightly different technique today than we've used before, and that's going to be extensively to initiate with some dry wet brushing. So to start with, we've got some white already over here on the palette ready, and I've got a nice broad tip brush which I'll wipe a little bit of the excess off, and then we're liberally going to go around the model. Now the front is where we're going to do a lot of concentrated colour later, so that the front can get a lot of colour, and just try and make sure you really do hit on the flames and get them completely saturated in the white. As we work our way into the body, then I'm going to want a little bit more shading, so I'm going to take a bit more of the paint off, and on the carapace here I definitely want a bit more depth to the carapace, and also as we come onto the tail, those surfaces that are higher up that are going to see the light, if you like, I'm going to make sure that I give them a better coverage, and then those areas that are a little bit on the darker side, a little bit more gentle with the dry brush, leave a lot more of the texture behind, so that's going to show up when we actually come to lay paint on. And then as we go to the undercarriage, obviously going to be a bit darker. And back on the top here, get a bit more saturation going again because we're back on the top and going to be looking at wanting nice saturated colours. And then as we come onto the clawed sections, a lot less coverage underneath, and then as we come up onto the chest section, again that's where a lot of the light's going to focus off these flames. We'll try and get a little bit of natural OSL going on the miniature as we progress with it. So just concentrating on those flames and making sure we get lots and lots of coverage onto the chest, and then gently lightening up as we come out. And I think we're not too far away from done in just a few moments time. Just re-hit some of those upper surfaces, make sure they are getting the saturation I'm wanting. So the next step is to take some contrast, which is Blood Angel's Red, and the initial colour was just simply Vallejo White, but the contrast red now we're going to paint liberally all over his back and work our way around the model. And as you can see, we're just liberally splashing on the colour. If you do go a little bit too crazy and leave a bit too much colour, then you can just dry your brush off a little and suck it back onto the brush. But essentially we're just going to work our way around. As you can see here, it's a little bit overdone, so what we'll do is we'll just suck that up onto the brush and then just move it elsewhere onto the model. We won't even bother wasting any. I'll be back once I've worked my way around. So essentially we have turned him into a glowing red slug. I've left all of this bit at the front pale. We're going to turn that into quite a vibrant, fiery reflective surface, and hopefully like an essence of like this, what is brewing this fiery substance here is going to sort of be giving a bit of a glow in the belly. I am toying with some maybe magma-y effects on this red, but we'll see as we progress. I am trying to keep things a little bit simpler, so for this next step I've had an idea, and I think we're going to go a little bit darker and more sinister. So we're going to use some Citadel Black Templar. Now we're going to need 2 puddles of this because it is really rich in colour. So we'll have a little puddle over here and we're going to thin that one down a little bit. I'll pop some water next door ready. Okay. So a bit of a more darker, sinister look is what we're after, or what I'm after. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take the tail ends and we'll darken those up. So we'll just slap some black straight onto the tips and just take them straight to really rich black. And this stuff is very strong. Now the one thing you're going to have to watch is as you, and it may take a couple of coats to get this done properly, as you sit the model upright, and you can already see it happening here, is because it is such a thin paint, it will run downhill. So you may have to do 1 coat and then come back and do a repeat coat. Now what I'm going to do is with the more thin solution, just take a little bit, get my paper, just take a little bit off the brush. I'm going to get a little bit of thin solution, and we're going to just gently from the model pull away and up into the black. Just a bit too much on the brush. But you're going to have to just gently work them together to avoid getting any lines of demarcation. Just gently stroking away from the main body and up into the black area. And again, like I said, this may take a couple of coats to get it sorted, but you can start to see. And then to avoid too much of a strong demarcation, I'm going to add in a little bit of Tagore Raid Shade, which is a fairly heavy shade, but it has just an essence of red in there. And so what we can do is just gently from the red pull up, like I say, dry off, just pull and then pull up, and it'll just assist with that blend of colour. We'll do this on all of the spines. I'm also going to black out all of the legs and just give them a liberal dose of the Black Templar all over. But you'll see that the upper surfaces keep a little bit of red in them, and I'm going to utilise that. So we'll just go around all the legs and do that. I'm looking to get right the way to the back legs and just gently stroke in here, and then go back to the Raid Shade, and from the back pull that down into the model. Adding a bit more water and really pulling some of the colour off, because this is all really strong stuff. And then the Raid Shade, I'm going to extend up into these grooves here and pull down again. But continue the blacker aspects in all of the legs and into the bodywork underneath. So I'll finish that and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's complete. Right, so I think you can see, if I get closer, you can see I haven't completely blacked out the legs. There is little essences of red showing there. We will utilise that show through. And then I've blended the Raid Shade up onto the carapace and left it into the gaps to give it some depth. Now we're going to pick out some of these reds and bring them in brighter in colour again. But I think this black adds a real ominous look to this figure. So drying times, because like these videos you just see go from one step to another. I think this is one of those projects where you need to be doing or working on another figure at the same time. So maybe you could be doing the ghouls or the deep ones alongside these. So the white, when we dry brush that, definitely at least a couple of hours to dry. When I've done the raid shade and the black on the limbs, ideally that's going to be you put it on and then to let it harden off so it's not going to mix with any other colours later, leave it overnight. So it's bang those washes on, give them a good 12 hours to settle and be working on something else at the same time. Don't be thinking like you see in the video and you can just get some colours on after an hour or so, because what you'll do is you'll ruin the model and you'll get the leaching of the still wet washes coming through into your paint and mixing them and disturbing your look. So that's going to go on the side. I'll do something else in the meantime, and I'll be back once that's sort of got to a point where I'm happy to work on it again. So having left the miniature to dry overnight, he's looking pretty groovy, quite happy with that. But now what we need to do is join the abdomen up to the chest, the thorax section, and blend it into like fleshy tones. So we'll go with sort of dark red tones that come through to orange and then blend the orange into a flesh. Alright, so we'll go with a fairly big brush. I haven't actually wet my brush to get the paint on it yet. So we'll go with a fairly decent sized brush, and it's just about coverage to start with. So we'll come through and having the white on here already, and if I just touch around the edges it'll just help blend in as well. And then having the darker colour, the actual black remaining behind, this will just naturally, where it's white, it's going to be a brighter tone and it'll just naturally blend through. So that base coating is going to do quite a bit of work for us. And just so the paint does actually blend all the way through, even when we hit the flesh tones, I'm going to go right up to the top. Just a nice thin coat of this gory red. So the two colours that are on the palette are gory red and scarlet blood. Now I have mixed a bit of black on the palette. I think under here it should be a lot more shadowy under there. So what we're going to do is go virtually to the black. Just a tiny bit of the gory red in there. And on the underside we'll get loads of black on. Well, gory red and black. And then as it comes through, get more of the red and just blend that through a little bit until it looks like a natural gradient coming through. Right, so on the palette, as well as the scarlet blood, I've prepared some orange fire and a bit of basic flesh tone. We'll get the scarlet red and we'll just work that in from the top and down. Now, one of the things you will notice on here, there are like little veins that run, and I want to try and catch those a little bit in the flesh tone. So the colours are going to remain quite fiery, but I want to catch around where those veins are in the flesh tones. That's brought the brightness up a little bit. We'll get some of the scarlet blood and we'll mix in a little bit of the orange. And just bring that tone in on the upper surfaces. And just forget to come around on those side pieces. And we'll go a bit higher in the tone of the orange. And what we're going to end up doing is, if we just keep working on this, is we're going to end up lifting the paint up because we'll make it too wet. So the next thing is just to let that dry. Now, while I'm waiting for the chest section to dry, I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white by Winsor & Newton. It's an acrylic white, but it's got a bit more vibrancy to it than the standard white of Vallejo. A bit more, well, white. So I'm just going to recoat all the flames around the bases of the flames where I want them to be the most vivid. So the next step is now to get some of the orange and mix in some of the flesh, which will take it to a yellowy colour. And then look for a bit of placement, trying to focus around where the veins are. And then we'll leave that to dry just a few seconds. And now around the yellow veins, if we just touch in with a little bit of the orange, and then we'll take the flesh on its own, and just a few core sections with our junctions and things will brighten it right up. And just give it a few little points of interest. There we go. So now I'm going to take some Basilicon Grey contrast paint and just apply that to the stalk. Try not to get on the inside of the tip, because we're going to put some OSL on the inside from the flame. And then after the Basilicon Grey, we're just going to touch in around the base with black Templars and just reinforce that deeper in it is darker. Now the insides of the hood, we're actually going to just give a coating of Old Rose. So now that we've actually got the hood all covered in a loose coat of brown rose, we're now going to give it a wash in Spaceballs Grey. And what we'll do is we'll give it a little wash, and then we will pick some of the colour back off and move it around a bit, just to make sure the shading is reasonably evenly distributed. So in some of these areas you can see it's a little bit heavy, a little bit pulley. Just pull some of that out a little bit. And then we'll leave that to dry for 20 minutes or so. Now just while the brown rose is drying off, I'm going to go touch up all of the upper surface areas of these claws and just give them a little splash of gory red, and it will just give you a little bit visually, a little bit more definition of where they are. And just make them look a little bit tidier. Okay, around the upper surfaces of the hood where the light would catch those upper surfaces, I'm just going to go in and just catch with a little bit of fulgrim pink. Just give them a little bit better definition. Okay, I think that should do that, and then we can get on with painting the flame. So the flames are nice and white. We're going to start with gold and yellow, and literally I'll do one flame just so you can see, and then I'll go around the rest. But we'll just pick out and strike across sideways as we go towards the top, more full in colour. At the top, penny colour, and then strike across sideways, and then we'll swap to the orange, and then we'll touch up little surface areas of the flame, and then the further up the flame we get, the more orange will go again, and then we'll go over to our scarlet blood. And just gently stroke up the tips of the flame. Towards the top end. And we'll grab some of the orange and the yellow, mix them together and just really get rid of a lot of the paint off the brush. And then we'll use that to blend what we've done so far together. A bit more of the orange and red. Bring some light colour in. I will work around the back side of the flame later. And then what we'll do is we'll concentrate on the OSL. So first we'll go to quite a dark orange and bring the orange in on any surface area where we think it might strike. Okay, And then where we're going to get a little bit more direct light, we'll get some of the orange, mix it with a bit of the yellow. Just give it a little bit brighter an edge. And then get a little bit of white. And just run that around the top of the little opening. And then we'll go back in with the orange, pale it up with a bit of the yellow again. Okay. And then we'll work our way around all the rest of the flames, and I'll come back when I've done that. Now, just to give it a little bit of an OSL effect, I am tapping some of the orange along the back of the hood. I've already done it on the inside, and then just where it is a little bit closer to the flame, what we'll do is on top of that, we'll just go in a bit closer with a paler colour. And just give it a little bit of a higher highlight, and that'll do for the OSL. So now we've blended the yellow, the orange and the red together. Just a little touch of gory red on the tips just to darken it up and make it look like the flames are sort of finishing off. OSL is finished on the front and on the back. And now we just need to tidy up the base. The base, as we've seen previously, I did with Green Stuff World texture roller. They do actually have a Cthulhu texture roller, and I use that. And then it was dark sand, brown sand and pale sand, just to get the texture on there, and then with a wash of Army Painter dark tone over the top. So ready really for the grand reveal. So that's one more monster out of the box. I think that leaves me, I've got the Chthonian, but then I'm going to be forced to do Hastur. I really want to do the model, but at the same time there's like a great deal of trepidation. It's a lot of work is going to need to go into that model. Dread to think how long the video may be. I'm going to have to look at maybe doing it in 2 parts. But I hope you've enjoyed the Fire Vampire. Really enjoyed painting in. Some nice quick techniques there. So only one thing left to say. Are we painting minis yet? Hell yeah! And I'll see you in the next one.